Record. So the I think there's a recording. I hope so. So the next one is empathy block number 7, which is agreeing. Usually sounds like taking sides with the person, perhaps approving or praising.
Yeah, I have a question here. What's wrong with that? Why is this a roadblock? If I tell my friend, yes, I think yes, I mean, I like what you're doing. I mean, why is that bad?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's like, why is that a problem? I don't get it either. It's just, I totally agree with you. And you're so smart and intelligent for having that insight.
I think it was your turn to share something, but no, seriously, I didn't practice the roadblock. I'm just trying to share my concern with both of you. Why it's wrong to say good for you or yes? I mean, that's a nice idea. What is the problem here?
I think I'm going out of role. I'm trying to answer her question. And I'm not sure if I should try to do that.
Well, this whole thing is blown up anyway. That was a pretty good agreement.
I thought it was perfect.
That was pretty good. I was pretty proud of that one.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah.
So it's like you keep questioning why is that a roadblock? Why is agreeing? How can agreeing be something that blocks empathy?
Yeah, you're really sitting with that question of why is this a roadblock? It seems like I think you're saying it's very positive. It's a positive thing to do. And, how can this be a roadblock?
Yes.
You're just really sitting with that question, like why?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, unless agreeing means flattering here. Because flattering is a roadblock. I make a person feel blind, but here is agreeing. So, okay, what should I do now? Because I just expressed my my concern. I didn't try to share my story for us to practice the roadblock on agreeing.
Yeah. Well, you were starting to reply to the agreement, and you're kind of like wondering. So I just kind of built on that and kind of reflected with agreement to sort of play with it a little bit. So we're kind of like playing with the ideas here. You can see, why is that a problem? I think it's the part that it's not empathizing and being with the person, right? With the empathy, we're trying to accompany the person on their journey, not, agree or disagree, but just accompany them. And so we're just practicing that part of being with them. So if you agree, it's like, yeah, I agree. It kind of takes the attention back to you instead of staying with the person so they can explore their own experience.
I can't really agree with that. I'm sorry. No. Because if two people, okay, let's say that Ingrid says something. She's sharing with me her plan to do something, whatever. And she's talking to me for a few minutes and I say, yeah, that's very good. I'm very happy. And this is all I'm saying. And then she keeps talking about her plans, but I'm not starting saying, oh, Ingrid, that's very good because I think that this, blah, 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 blah. And I don't start talking to her for another 10 minutes, stopping her because I want to talk about myself. Then I don't find where the problem is because I've just commented that, yes, Ingrid, that's very good. Tell me more about it. Mm-hmm. Where is the problem?
So you're sort of seeing that by agreeing with someone, you're kind of supporting the person in their exploration. You're saying, yes, you're right. Go ahead and tell me more. And you're kind of helping them to explore more, and that you find that it's supportive.
Definitely. I want the person to feel that I'm fully connected and I'm there. So
yeah, and by supporting them and agreeing with them, you're kind of showing that you're supportive and that you're trying to help, try to assist them. You're just trying to
yes, definitely.
Is there more?
No.
Okay.
Thank you. So should Ingrid say something?
Yeah, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts.
I think it's really interesting discussion. And I think bringing it up, talking about it I thought it was really interesting what Edwin said, how he sees it as taking the story, the focus off of the listener and going to the speaker. And it also, and then, you can see it, I can see it kind of both ways. Anyway, I thought it was a really good demonstration and an example of, it's not black and white. It doesn't mean you never agree with anyone. There can be cases when it's very appropriate and valid to agree, but it is a judgment. When you agree with someone or disagree, it is a judgment, and you're giving your 2 cents to them about what you think about whatever it is they're saying.
Oh, maybe we can have a little dialogue around this. Mimi, would you reflect back what you were hearing Ingrid say?
Yeah, I agree with what Ingrid said, and I was thinking that...
No, what did she say? Just reflecting it back.
Sorry. Oh, okay. So I said that...
She is agreeing.
I'm glad you picked up on that, Edwin. And I felt better.
Liked it.
So what Ingrid said, that it seems that it's not always the case of black and white when we discuss, and sometimes seems to be absolutely perfect to agree with the person. It doesn't hurt the communication we have. That was all. Then Ingrid started laughing and I forgot. I'm sorry. I can't reflect anymore. I think that was her main point.
And then the judgment, that it is a judgment.
Oh, yes. Ingrid also said that even when we agree or disagree, this is a form of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, was that it? Okay. Yeah, so each of these blocks is a whole big topic of its own, and I think for the training, even though if you were saying, well, I don't want to talk about the blocks, tell me how to do it, I still think that the blocks gives a visceral sense of what it feels like when you don't have empathy. There's kind of that comparison, right? Of like some of the blocks are so, the judgments is just so cold and you just feel that constriction. So I guess what's coming up for me is this could really, each of these blocks is a whole kind of a big project of its own to really articulate it and explore it. Yeah.
Once again, I would like to say that it's not what we say, it's how we say it. And it has to do with the tone of the voice and the facial expression that we haven't discussed very much in our meetings, but I think they are very, very important. And also, when we try to be empathic listeners, it means that we want to become transparent listeners, as if I'm invisible, as if I'm like air, that I'm just there to listen and not participate. And does the other person want this? Because, okay, I want to give you something, but this something is what you really need. And what about the culture, the element of culture? Again, I'm talking about it again. You might not be able to see it because you share the same culture, but I don't. I come from a different background, and many things that you do or you don't do don't sound or seem empathic from my perspective. But if I ask, you might find them fully empathic.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that there's the culture has an aspect that there's a lot more than just agreeing or disagreeing. There's the tone of voice, the way you're behaving. There's all these different qualities that add to an empathic way of being, and as well as culture. Different cultures are different, and you need to kind of keep all those aspects in mind.
Yes, because okay, let's say that I don't use any of the roadblocks. For some, I can manage it. And while you are, both of you are talking to me about something sad or very happy that happened to your life last week, I have this. Oh, I have this face. No mirroring. How empathic am I? When you talk to me about an experience and my voice is kind of, oh, yeah, am I empathic? I mean, does my voice reflect how does my voice show how I feel? Does my voice warm up the speaker, or just be transparent, like invisible? So or how much attention should I pay? Okay, you're talking to me and I'm just, okay, give me a second, I want to check something. Am I empathic? What about eye contact? Do I have full eye contact with the person who speaks? Do I hold the hand of the person? Okay, we don't use any of the roadblocks. Can I touch the hand of the person, tap the person, touch the hair of the person? Are you allowed to do this in your culture? You're allowed to do it in my culture. You should do it when you are in Greece. What about the States? Probably not. What about Sweden? In Sweden, you don't touch people. No, it's considered to be inappropriate. But in Greece, if you don't do it, it is inappropriate.
Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of it's just opening up, like what is being empathic, and how does touching and facial expressions, and there's a whole bunch of different ways that kind of can show empathy or not. And you're just kind of like curious about how do all those relate to empathy.
Yes, it's I mean, my topic sentence is that it's much more. There is much more than just a list of roadblocks we should avoid. There are many more things we should take into consideration when we try to practice empathic listening.
Yeah. So taking a wide variety of aspects with what are blocks and how do we do empathic listening. Okay, do you feel heard?
Yes.
Okay, actually I'll speak to Ingrid here. We're going into a little bit of empathic listening. So Ingrid, so I see that there is all those different aspects, but we have to we can take it little bit by bit to explore the different components. So, I think in a future chapter, Bill talks about the listening without words. So he does kind of cover this, but we have to I think what we're trying to do here is sort of divide these different components and kind of look at them. And it's hard to do everything at once. So we're trying to just focus on kind of this empathic reflection and kind of things that sort of block that. So, yeah.
So I'm a little confused. Are you responding to what Mimi said?
Yeah, I'm sort of responding.
Okay. And that you see it as, you said that in the book, the author does talk about it a little bit in the chapter that's about the picture without words.
Yeah.
But that he didn't address it earlier on because they're maybe kind of teaching other components first.
Right.
Little bits. It's like there's too much to teach at once.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah. Let's break it up into maybe more digestible parts first.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I kind of see what he's doing. It's like in kind of dividing into those digestible parts and then look at each one. And so I guess I feel a little like we can't do it all at once. If we look at it sort of bit by bit, that it makes it sort of more manageable. Yeah,
that it's almost overwhelming to do it all at once.
Yeah,
but you have to take it a step at a time, and that you were kind of agreeing with what Mimi was saying with that the words without pictures is important.
Yeah,
and it does need to be included.
Yeah, I feel heard. Yeah. I don't know if you want to just say something to someone just to kind of round this section out.
Okay, I can continue with this because I think this to me is part of when I was saying I see the book kind of disjointed.
Mm-hmm.
I think it contains a lot, but I would just repackage it in a way. And I would, like, even this chapter is called Roadblocks to Listening. Well, it's really more towards your reflection, because there's like two parts. One, well, first, there's that attitude. He talks about there's an attitude of heart set or mindset. You know, he talks about the attitudes that you have to have in order to be empathic, and sometimes you learn it as you practice. Then one of the steps to it is listening. How do you really listen well? With, you know, to hear it without judgment and stuff. And then the next step is kind of reflecting back. It's expressing. How can you express empathically with a way that hopefully the listener feels heard? And so when I look even at the title of this chapter is Roadblocks to Listening, it's also roadblocks to reflecting. It's not just listening, because it's all more so roadblocks to reflecting. So I start seeing these inconsistencies, which I think can make someone who's especially a beginning person, it can make them they can cause confusion.
Mm-hmm. So again, you're coming back to seeing this book, you would sort of repackage it, make it more accessible to people, and you were going through the different ways of articulating it so it'd be more easy to understand for people who are new at this. And one of them is, it's not just a roadblock to listening, it's like a roadblock to reflection. So instead of reflecting, this is like blocking the reflection. You went through a couple other components that I don't know if I quite could reflect, but that's what I was hearing. So you would redesign it to make it more accessible, and these are examples of how to redesign it.
Right, clear. And I probably would move that the words without pictures, the stuff about the body language and everything, I would probably move that to a section totally on listening. Because when you're listening, that's what you're really looking for. It's also with reflection, but I think I would probably move it up a little bit earlier.
Okay. So the listening with more feelings without words, you would move that up more in the front. Make it have addressed that first, not first, but just before.
Right, with similar content, with why the purpose of it. Why do you? Yes, I feel heard.
Okay. Then since we're not doing the blocks right now, it looks like more of a discussion. So maybe with reflection, and I'll speak to Mimi. Yeah, I think that this is one of the questions is, we have our prototype of the book, you know, the 16 chapters, and a lot of other people are kind of addressing what Ingrid is saying, that it sort of needs to be redesigned, that they have problems with. Everybody has different problems with different aspects of the book. So it's kind of like, how do we redesign it, lessons, to make it really more accessible and, you know, for people. So, yeah. So I'm kind of sitting with that question too. How do we go about doing that?
So it seems that you are really concerned about the problems people face when they try to work on this book. It seems that they would like it to look, they would like it to be better organized so as to cater more for their own needs. And you are really, you keep this question in your mind about how you would, how you could redesign the lessons so as to have a better, maybe, so as for people to find them even more practical, maybe?
Yeah, and the people who are saying this are the curriculum designers, developers. They're the trainers, the facilitators who, know about, training. And so I'm just wondering, like, what do we do? Like, what's the next step? Is it whoever has an idea for a redesign, do you create a prototype of it? Is that, and then we kind of look at it and discuss it, because we have the 16 chapters, which is our prototype, but we do want to create something that's very accessible, and we can redesign it and create our own, lessons that are more accessible.
You said we can, or we
We
can?
We can.
We can, C-A-N.
Yes.
Okay, so you are concerned about this issue, and it seems that you are even more, you are in more deep thoughts when these comments come from people who know how to design a curriculum, who know how to be instructors. So you find their comments more thoughtful, but at the same time, their feedback make you wonder that, wait a minute, every time somebody has a new idea, should we just reconstruct the book and redesign it and just create a different prototype maybe?
Yeah, it's like the trainers, maybe if they each, I guess I'm wondering, like, what's the next step? I feel a little bit lost. Like, how do we take all these insights and translate them into a new outline? And then I'm thinking, well, maybe if each person just create a little prototype and we kind of look at it, and yeah, so I'm just kind of looking at what the mechanism is for doing that.
Okay. Sorry, Dan?
Yeah, I guess I feel heard. That's.
No, I asked you if you have completed your points, so it's for me to.
Oh yeah, I'm done. You can reflect.
Okay, should I just reflect now?
Yeah, just if you would, yeah.
Yeah, so it seems that you want to connect the book even more. You even more want to connect the book to the to how the lessons are designed, how this practice is taking place every time we meet. And you think that it would be a good idea for each one of us to just create a little prototype just to contribute in the redesigning, let's say, of the book. And this, you think that could be a solution to the next step you are looking for? Yeah,
I feel a little anxiety about how to go about doing that. So, so that's just kind of sharing that. So, yeah, I feel heard. I'm also noticing the time that maybe we can just kind of open it up for discussion. I had hoped we could go through all the different blocks, but we kind of got a little distracted, went on different things, which is fine because different things come up. Just kind of only got about 6-7 minutes here. Any kind of comments about all this? Just without reflection, just kind
of. Well, I can, as far as where to start, I've kind of started trying to organize it for me in a way that makes sense to me.
Oh, good.
The parts, kind of like an outline a little bit of just topics of like what I would move and put places, so I can work on that some more. And then sometimes it's always easier to put something out there for people to look at and kind of criticize,
right,
and edit. Rather than start from scratch. But I can try to do something like that. I may regret those words. But.
Yeah, it's you're getting deeper than you were hoping, but yeah. Well, that would be helpful, yeah, because we have the prototype, and we can create our own lessons, and that are kind of more effective, and they can be made available. So that'd be really helpful to. And then if you want to share that when you feel ready to share it,
okay,
we could discuss.
And sometimes it might still be using the book, but reading the chapters in a different order. Rather than from 1 to 16, or so, I'm saying that might be one option. And it could be that. Anyway, I don't know yet. But.
Okay. Great. So, well, I had hoped that we could go through the lessons. You know, the idea was we would create these little, oh, I'm recording here. I don't, we're recording on agreeing or whatever it was. So the idea was I had thought we could go through each of the roadblocks and create little video clips that others could sort of watch, you know, and they could be put into on the website. So we got a few of those. We didn't get through all 12. So
the last one was the best. The agreeing part.
The agreeing.
Was the best.
Yes.
Yeah. So that led to a lot of discussions. I really think that, you know, I do think that each of these blocks is almost like a whole big lesson of its own to discuss. And I have a website, the Empathy Training Literature Review, and there's about 30 blocks or more to empathy there. So I've been just gathering all the different blocks, and I kind of imagine each of those blocks could be almost like a, you know, future lesson, not a beginning lesson, but like a deeper future lesson. As well as, you know, some people have talked about their favorite blocks in the other groups. And so we could even explore, I'd thought of where we do role play with the block. So we have empathy, somebody plays empathy and somebody plays the block, and the two dialogue empathically with each other. So there's just so many different things we could kind of do, but those are kind of more projects for the future, you know, not this initial boot camp part. So anyway.
I think that this is a very good idea, and I think that we could just have groups, little groups of 2 people or 3 people. Of course, we are a very small group here, so we could have just a group of 2 subgroups of 2 people, maybe in the best case, and just, for example, create a dialogue like this. And so this will be something practical, because I'll tell you very quickly that I'll make these quick points that the first is that I like that Edwin has a low profile and he doesn't dictate the team. So that's something I really love, and I would feel very suffocated if it wasn't like this. And I think that what we have to work on is on the practical aspect of our work, of our meeting. So yes, discussion is good, but what about the practical aspect that we mentioned? And the third thing is that what I will always remember about roadblocks is how I felt when other people, the other participants, responded in a very aggressive way to another person. And this, oh my God, really hurt me. I said, oh, I will never forget that. This hurts. I shouldn't say that. Even in case I do it without realizing, oh my God, I should be very careful because this hurts. So I think this is, for me, the main benefit I got after practicing a little bit the roadblocks.
Nice. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So got a few minutes. So Ingrid, you're going to be working on sort of a prototype of a new design, or
just more of a really brief outline of. I kind of started going through his book and highlighting the key points he mentions, and then kind of looking and sorting through those and organizing them in a way that kind of makes more sense.
Okay.
Does that make, so it'd be more just like an outline, which could end up being, like you said, it could be a module with like 3 main topics under it, or like maybe each one's a lesson, or but more just like an outline that we could say, oh, this kind of works, or this doesn't work, or more of an outline.
Yeah, so an outline that's sort of a redesign that's kind of builds more effectively step by step.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when do you think you would have that to share? What do you?
I don't know. I mean, I work better with, I have a problem with trying things to be perfect, and I don't like that. So it's easier for me just to get it out there. And so I don't know, maybe in 10 days or something.
Okay, maybe.
Does that work?
Yeah, when in our group we could share it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. So did you have any?
I can work on stuff forever.
Yeah.
So then it's better for me to have a deadline and just give it no matter what it looks
2 weeks,
like.
you just show it no matter what.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. Mimi, did you have any sort of projects you wanted to do? It sounded like you wanted to kind of do something specific.
I would be very happy if I could work with somebody who specializes in education. I don't know if Stefan does this. I don't know if another person from another group, maybe is a teacher, educator, I don't know what. But in that, if yes, then I would love to collaborate, and let's say that we come up with a lesson plan where we teach something, but along with that would also help our students practice empathy. I would like to
you had talked about a problem. You had shared a video that kind of laid out a social problem.
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Yes, you said that you didn't like it to be like this, so I said, okay.
Oh no, it would be great. I think that would be really good, because if people see a social problem and then can discuss it, it creates a motivation for them wanting to do this. So if you wanted to create a prototype lesson built around like a video,
okay, so I mean, this is what I do every day for my classes. I just choose a couple of videos. Okay, let's say I choose one that has something to do with society or whatever, and I just I want to see how people feel and just ask them kind of challenging questions. And I see, for example, we might talk about this issue, and this will make you feel. How does this make you feel? How would you respond to this? So this kind of thing. So empathy, practicing empathy, will be also the main goal, but based on something social that will make you think after the end of the meeting.
Yeah, so do you want to put together like a prototype lesson plan for that?
Yes, but I'm sorry, till the end of July, I'm working for the university for my master's. After that, I would be willing to do so. I'll have some more
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So I need at least a month for that, because it's just summer vacation here, and I haven't stopped at all since September. So after that, yes, definitely. Actually, we're going to continue our meeting. So
yeah, and Stefan is working on doing. I don't know if I mentioned that he wanted to do a presentation at the Psychiatric Association next year on our MOOC.
Wow!
So he's done and they have like 13,000 attendees, and it's in San Francisco, so just across the bay. So he invited me to take part, as well as Bill Miller, and Bill Miller said he was willing to do it. So it can be a training, or it can be like a 2-hour presentation. They have, I think, 2, 4, and 8-hour trainings that you can do. So we're kind of like talking about presenting, and he's done other presentations at the Psychiatric Association. So it's, I think, next year, July or something, or May of next 2019. So that's like a project he's starting besides how to teach it. Oh, and he wants to create a prototype to test with his students and use that as the data for the presentation. So he's,
that's pretty exciting.
That is. So anyway, that was sort of the latest. So just trying to get some projects lined up that we can kind of be working on, and besides just the course.
So just a question, he's going to present the kind of work we do here all together, so as for people to learn more about the culture of empathy? He's still kind of working on, he has until September to write up the proposal, and he did want to do something about the MOOC. It'd be like sharing the MOOC or something about the MOOC.
be it like feedback, you know, it would be like the research on doing it, and or so we're still kind of working on the details of it, and yeah, so it's not 100% clear, but he seems to be clear that he wants to do this presentation.
So this is something practical. So each one of us, or all together in smaller groups maybe, we could produce something, upload them, having a bank of empathy where people have created something tangible during sessions or after the completion of sessions, if they ever end, because we might decide to work together for, I don't know, for a long time. So we'll be empathy addicted. So
I like that, empathy addicts. We call it the empathy addicts training.
So we could just have something practical, because by doing this, people will also take us more seriously. That we're not just theoreticians talking and talking, having fun, but we just do something. Right.
Well, I wanted to say that the training MOOC website is really developing. There's a lot of growing a lot of material, and I've been doing most of the work. So the next stage is getting others. You know, once everybody's been sort of doing this, they can start getting involved in the design of the different pages of the MOOC. So we're kind of easing into it. There's going to be a real practical, aspect to it. So with that, I want to keep us on track here. We're a minute over according to my watch. So felt experience, mirroring. Mine's kind of like, kind of a turning. Yeah, there we go. So the wheels are turning, the gears are turning. So that's my motion. Mimi, you got one?
I could say that I feel like a butterfly. So, yeah, this is how I feel.
How'd you do that?
You know, like this, 2 thumbs together.
There.
Like this. Yes, this is how I feel. Thank you.
Okay, Ingrid?
I'd say I'm like this. I feel pretty calm, but also maybe a little anxiety of working on this outline.
Okay, so we had our intention, fostering building a culture of empathy. We want to blow that intention out into the world. Big breath. Yeah, a nice little burning there. Okay, and